it didn't quite work the way I liked. So I'm going to have to start like this and then play the PowerPoint for you from here. But hopefully this works.
Good morning, Block 5. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you today. I prefaced this on Wednesday that unfortunately I have a course today and I won't be able to join you. But I still want to make your lesson as similar as possible to that of blocks 3 and 7 from yesterday. So I will make this rather quick video lesson, and the intention is that you can always stop it, you can always go back on it, so that if I talk a bit fast or I'm not showing the slides long enough, obviously you can pause it, rewind it, and think things through. And if you can do this individually, or if you prefer, you can work in your table group. So the overview of the lesson is visible to you. You would have already completed the SSR and hopefully completed the reading reflection journals for about 7 minutes, and the discussion questions on Parents' Night. If you've gotten that far, then you're in a good place, and I will take you through the next few things through some questions. So, from yesterday's lesson, see from Monday, this is the one, but we'll not worry about that today. There will be new seats from. In your reading reflection, and here's a chance, if you have submitted this already in the blue basket and you hadn't quite done everything right, you can fix this up. You should have filled out 5 items on that reading reflection. At the top of the thing, you highlight the books, you write the name of the book that you've been reading. Today's date is 9/6/2019. And then below that, you write how many pages you have read today. In the summary box, you'll write at least 3 complete sentences about giving us a bit of a plot summary about what you have been reading about today. On the right-hand side, the reaction section, you need to choose one of the 3 options there. You can either write an evaluation. So what is the significance of the event that you have read about today in your 15 minutes of SSR? Or you can do a prediction. What do you think is going to happen next in the novel, and what do you base that upon? Or you can interpret, what do you think the author what's the intent of the author in the section that you've been reading? So you do one of those 3 options in that thing. So if you feel that you haven't quite done the right thing when you're reading a reflection, you will have some time now to go back on that. You can pause this, go and fix that up, or do that later in the lesson if you like. Once you're done, the reading journal should be in the blue tray, and you should have 2 other sheets picked up from that. One is the questions about Parents' Night, which hopefully you have already completed, and the other will come in later on when we start talking about making claims. So you've answered 5 surface level questions, these 5 questions. If at this point you have not quite completed the questions, please stop the video and do that first, because I will talk you through some suggestions of answers, but some of these questions are certainly open enough that you could have some other answers as well. But take the time to check your answers, write down any questions, maybe use a different colored pen so that you can see the difference between your answers and mine, and then we can talk about the differences on Monday when we meet again, because I'm not saying that what I'm going to disclose here is going to be the only option. So if you've got a different answer, it might be a better one. I'm just giving you some suggestions. And it is Thursday night. I've just taught a whole day and I'm getting ready for Parent Night in a few minutes. So I'm pretty tired, so I might give some bad answers here. So don't feel that your answers are any less than mine. So, excuse me. Question 1, what did the narrator's father give her every year on her birthday, and why? So Karen's father gives her every birthday, he gives her a yellow friendship rose? Sorry, I forget, I haven't got my text in front of me. It's not friendship, it's another word. But he gives her a yellow rose, right? And that becomes, I guess, the reason why he does that is because it becomes a bit of a family tradition, right? There was a bouquet presented to her mother at the time of her birth, and he also gave one to her when she was newborn. And then every year he has given her a yellow flower. And that likewise, her younger sister is given a red carnation. So it's kind of interesting. We can come back to this maybe when we talk on Monday. Why is the father giving them flowers? Why not something else? That might have something to do with gender issues, which come into this text quite significantly. So if you've got a different answer, please make note in a different color how we differ, and then we'll talk about that on Monday. Question 2. What is Karen, the narrator, afraid to tell her parents, and why might she be afraid of this? So Karen has a fear of her father's finding out that she is a bit doubtful about her sexuality, or that she is homosexual and that she likes girls, Roxy particularly in this case, and that she attends the club at school. And I think she's very frightened of her parents finding out, because her parents are quite judgmental, right? They things they say at the dinner table and actions they take, like her mother refusing to treat patients with AIDS, and them talking about homosexual people as not normal at the dinner table, all seem to indicate that they're quite judgmental and quite nasty, really, towards gay people. And so that is why Karen is fearful of coming out to her parents. GSA stands for the I think it stands for the Gay Straight Association or Alliance. You might have to look that up because I forget. Fremont does have one, and we'll see that in the next slide. They meet at lunchtime in room 206, A206, so just down the hall from where we are, and on Tuesday lunchtimes. And you're welcome to go down there anytime to meet them and chat with them and join them if you feel like that's they're dealing with issues that you want to engage in. So yes, we certainly do, and we certainly are much more open-minded here at Fremont than Karen's parents might have been in 1994. I would say for question 4 that the climax of the story is the conversation at the dinner table, and particularly when Karen says, again, I haven't got my text with me, but she says, "So you expect my gay and lesbian brothers and sisters to die from AIDS, do you?" And thereby coming out, as well as accusing her mother of being inhumane and challenging her and what she does professionally. And I think that's the climax, because up to that point, there's been this tension about how is Karen going to reveal to her parents, how is she going to come out to her parents? And that's how she's testing all these scenarios and coming up with ideas of how to do it. So that has been the big build-up. And then from here, we have this big explosion in the family relations, and then gradually things start to improve in the second half of the story. So the resolution of the story, I guess, would be when the parents become more, they kind of realize their shortcomings, what they've done wrong, and they start to ask for forgiveness in 2 stages. The mother first sits down with Karen and realizes that actually, you know what, you have made me challenge myself and why I chose this profession. And the father, at the end of the story, comes and presents her with the yellow rose. So this is the slide that I referenced before. You're welcome to join the club down in Mrs. Martin's room in A206 on Tuesday lunchtimes. You then have 2 questions down the bottom. I've added an 8th one as well that's not on your sheet. So question 6 is asking about the significance of the yellow sweetheart rose. There's the word I was looking for before. And what might it be a symbol for? And we've had some good discussions in the other 2 classes about this. I'm happy to kind of talk more about this. I don't really want to go too far on the deep level questions, because I think we should talk about these on Monday. But maybe think of ideas around love and forgiveness and open-mindedness, if you like. But let's come back to that question 6 on Monday. In terms of question 7, Karen's parents influence her both in a positive and a negative way. She is challenged by her parents in terms of their judgmental attitudes towards homosexuals, and that kind of challenges her. So she kind of has to stand up for herself. At the same time, they do model excellent behavior in terms of being apologetic and asking for forgiveness towards the end of the story. There are several other ways as well in which they influence her identity, but they are 2. So try to think about other ways that your parents might influence your identity in a positive or a negative light. The last question that I wanted to add is about narrative stance, or we called it point of view as well when we talked about these things on last Monday. But the narrative stance of this particular story is first person, right? Because it's Karen talking to us, and she's using first person I and me and myself. She's speaking in that sort of voice. It's retrospective because she's looking backwards to things that have already happened in a chronology that's quite broken. She jumps back and forth in the chronology. And lastly, it's interesting how she almost breaks the fourth wall. It's that she sort of talks to us as if we are there with her. I mentioned the example of Dora the Explorer, who kind of talks straight to the TV audience as well as to the characters in the story. And that's kind of similar here, that Karen once in a while breaks away from her own story and talks straight to us. Or that was still of me, wasn't it? And those sort of questions asked to us as readers. So again, check your answers. Anything you want to talk about on Monday, we will come back to question 6 certainly, and probably 7 and 8 as well on Monday. But any others that you want to discuss as well, make a little note, and we'll talk about those on Monday in class. Now we're going to move to something completely different. And you can take out the third sheet that you collected when you came into class today, the sheet labeled something about writing a claim. So when it comes to writing an effective claim, a claim, when we talk about a claim, we're making, we can use a claim in 2 different places. If you use it to start off a paragraph, then that becomes sort of your topic sentence. That is what your topic will be in your particular paragraph. If you are putting it at the start of an essay, then that becomes the thesis for the entire essay. So if we look up the word claim in the dictionary, we're going to find 2 different functions. It can function as a verb, to claim something. That is to state or declare that something is the case and is true. Or we find that it can also function as a noun, which means then a stance or assertion of the truth of something, typically one that is in doubt. So either way, a claim is about a level of certitude and trying to prove that something is true. And that is what we're going to kind of be looking at in terms of how a claim works. So if you take out your little note sheet, we will look at a bit more of a description so try to fill in the blanks on that note sheet as we go through this now. So your claim when you're writing an essay should be an opinion stated as a fact. Don't sort of hesitate and question yourself too much. You want to be quite persuasive in this instant. So the way you want to do that is by stating your claim clearly as a fact and giving yourself some room to argue the point. A statement such as the sun rises in the morning is not really going to work as a claim because it's not something you can argue, right? Yes, it does, but so what? You can't prove it. So it needs to be something that you can use some evidence to prove and support and to build up. Something that you're trying to convince someone else, in this case me, of. And the claim should always be in the form of a complete sentence. So it should start with a capital, it should have a subject and a verb, and it should end with a full stop. So fill in the notes as you go through this. Obviously, if you need to stop the video, that's fine. I'm going to be going through this quite fast, much faster than I have in the other classes, but you can always stop and rewind. So when you're making a claim, you need to kind of go through 3 steps, actually 4, but we'll start with 3. So step 1 is, what is the question asking you? So if you're being asked a question, you need to start, okay, so what are the keywords in this question? And then you need to think about, okay, can I use these keywords and put it into a sentence? And then lastly, adding your own opinion that's going to be responding and answering to that particular question. So if we take this example, step 1, I'm looking at this question, which is, which season is the best? So I look at the question, so what is it asking? It wants my opinion about what is the best season. Best and season are the 2 keywords in here. So I need to use those when I construct my answer. So blank is the best season. Then I'm using the 2 words in a statement. It's a full sentence. And then I just need to insert my own opinion. So in my case, I'm going to insert fall and say fall is the best season. Because after all, that's when we get to come back to school, we get to meet our friends again, we get to start learning things. So fall is awesome. But you don't need to write all that. Just that statement, fall is the best season. So when it comes to these steps, if we take we break that down a little bit further, it is important that you make sure that you're answering the correct question. That's why you've got to really make sure that you pull out the keywords and understand the prompt of the question. What exactly are you being asked? So understanding the prompt is essential before you move to the second step, which is to using those key terms, the key words from the question, from the prompt, and pay attention that you are answering the appropriate question. And thirdly, when you're adding your own opinion, make sure that it's one that you actually believe in, so that I know sometimes you're not going to be personally invested in a question, but at least pretend to yourself that you are, so that you write from a perspective of being persuasive and strong in your voice, so that you don't hesitate and start changing your opinion halfway through your paragraph or your essay. So make sure that you kind of invest yourself in your opinion. So we're going to move on to the first piece of practice. So practice making a clear claim. Here's your question. Which type of music is the best? So you've got to go through first step one, which is identifying what are the keywords in here. So the keywords in here are going to be type of music and best, right? Then use those words to turn that into a sentence. Add your own personal opinion to respond directly to the question. Once you've written a statement, then stop the video and share that with your table mates. Once you've got the hang of that first step of just making the claim, we're now going to try to improve your claim. So in order to make a claim stronger, you need to have a rationale. The rationale explains why your claim is correct. It explains how you've been thinking, and it gives some hint about why you believe your claim is true. So how do we do that? So we've done step 1, 2, and 3. We're now moving on to step 4. And you can really do this in a simple way. You can do this in 2 ways. You can either add something like the word because. So if I've said already summer is the best season, I add the word because, and then comes my rationale, because the weather is warm and students get to sleep in. Or you can flip it around and put the rationale before that statement and say, due to the warmer weather and the lack of school, summer is the best season. Now that's a horrible example, because the lack of school obviously makes us all long for coming back here to Fremont. But nevertheless, that's an example of putting the rationale, before your claim. So let's practice this one. Here's your practice question. Which movie genre is the best? So again, think about what's the key word of the question here? Movie genre, best. Make that into a statement, add your opinion, and then include a rationale, either before the statement or after it. So pause the video, write your response to this question, and then share it with your table mate to compare your ideas. And now we're going to try to do this one more time, this time with focus on our particular unit, which is identity. So here's your final practice question. What is the most important, put this in the same space that you wrote the previous one. There's space in between the lines for this one as well. What is the most important part of your identity? So again, look at the keywords and then turn that into a statement and include the rationale for that statement. Stop the video, write your statement, share with your table mates. And give each other some helpful feedback in terms of what you can do to improve your statement. Sorry about that. Now stop the video. All right, and the last slide for the day. Avoid making your rationale too specific. The problem with that is you will then end up with a really long topic sentence or thesis statement, and then you won't have much to say in the body of your essay. So if you look at the first example here, summer is the best season because we don't have to set an alarm and be at school at 7:30 a.m. and the temperatures stay over 80 degrees, so we get to wear shorts. That's a lot of evidence that you would put later on in your body paragraph. So the better example here would be the second statement. Summer is the best season because the weather is warm and students get to sleep in. Right? That's it's more limited, it's more focused, and then it gives you room to then move into the paragraph and explain, yes, it's great to sleep in because we don't disturb our circadian rhythms, we don't have to use our alarm clocks, we wake up when the sun is, whatever it is. And so you can develop those bits of evidence in the body paragraph as support for your claim. So that's tip number 1. And tip number 2 here is avoid using first or second person. Keep it formal and use only third person in your essay writing, in your claims. At least in your body, in your evidence parts of your claims. So first person would be I, me, and myself, right? And second person would be you and yourself. So avoid using that. Try to stick to the third person. So hopefully this video has taken you through the core bits. It's the same things that we've done in the other classes. I'm not sure in terms of timing where you're sitting now, but you should have 3 sheets to submit in, or 3 documents to submit in the blue basket. There should be your reading journal, your responses to the Parents' Night questions, and your actual annotated copy of Parents' Night, just so I can see how you annotated for homework. Make sure your name is on those 3 documents and submit them all in the blue bin. If there's still time left on your lesson, if you've gotten through this quite quickly, then over on the counter next to my desk near the oil diffuser, I will leave copies of the short story we're going to read in class on Monday, called Blonde. So you can then take out that and take a copy and then start reading that for Monday, and use the rest of the lesson to read that. Hopefully you had a great lesson and you have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all back on Monday. Take care.